Hey, welcome back to Crimes in Closets. This is Christy in my closet in St. Louis.
And this is Beth coming at you from North Carolina.
How's it going, Beth?
Guess what?
What?
It's Serial Killer September.
Oh, no, really?
I think that was from like New York.
Serial Killer
September. We're playing all new roles this month.
We are. Oh my gosh, yes.
I convinced Christy to do these serial killers.
Yeah, convinced, as in, we should do Serial Killer September. And I was like, basically, the text said ... Okay.
They're hard to do.
They are.
Guys, I feel like we get asked to do serial killers and they're hard to do because we only have 30 to 40-minute episodes and like they're just tough, man. They're dark. It's a lot. We've been having nightmares researching these people. Like,
yeah. Right.
Yeah, it's hard to do, but 1 month a year.
Yeah. We can totally commit to that 1 month a year and give our listeners an extra episode a week.
Yes. Tell them.
Yeah, because we are going to format it where we give you 2 episodes. We'll release one on Monday and release the second one on Tuesday.
Right. So each serial killer will be in 2 parts.
Yes, exactly.
You don't have to listen to us for an hour and a half.
Right. Unless you want to and you want to just binge them both on Tuesday. That's totally up to you.
I do.
And that's what I would do.
In my 2-parter ones. Yeah.
Because I don't like to wait. But you also do not have to wait a whole week to hear the second part. So that's...
Yes. Tune in. Tell your friends.
Yes. So this is our
Serial Killer September.
Tell you
could be like a voiceover actress.
You could. You should be. So I hope you're as excited as I am, or as we are, to delve into these cases. But it was a lot. It took a lot. It took more, I think, than triple the amount of time that it usually takes. I feel like I should pay attention to how long it takes us or takes me to research a typical case, but this was a lot of work and definitely felt like I had just finished a term paper when I was done. I want a college credit
at the end.
Yeah, a college credit. But I think that I am ready to presentate this, as my middle child would say. I'm ready to presentate this. So can I work on my next presentation? I'm ready to presentate this one though.
Heights. It makes sense though.
It does.
Instead of presentate. Yeah. I feel like I feel that.
Well, I mean, the word is presentation. He's going to give a presentation. So it doesn't make sense to change the word to present instead of presentate. So
if kids ruled the world.
Yeah, exactly. So
who runs the world? Kids. They would all be presentating.
They would be presentating. Are you ready for me to presentate for you?
Presentate away.
Okay, I'm ready. So I chose to look into John Wayne Gacy. Are you familiar with?
Yes, but ish.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited.
I mean, I think his name is somewhat familiar, but he's fairly well-known serial killer / sex offender and is known as the Killer Clown.
Oh, right. Okay.
He has been accused of assaulting and murdering at least 33 boys and burying a majority of them in his home between the years of 1972 and 1978. So he's fairly busy.
Right, that's 6 years. 30 some kids in 6 years?
33 known. I mean, I guess it could be more. I don't know, but it's for sure 33.
That is one busy clown.
Mm-hmm. And this man intrigues me basically because he is just highly regarded in his community, and he's a great businessman. So there's a lot of reasons why that like he got away with so much and remained out in society for so long. And so that just boggles my mind that you could kill 33 people in 6 years and be free to do with that in 6 years.
Right.
Anyway. But so before we get into all of his heinous acts, let's first just take a look at his early life. And basically from this point on, I'll just be referring to him as Gacy because it's just easy.
Okay.
So Gacy was born in Chicago, Illinois, and he was the second child of John Stanley Gacy and Marion Elaine Robinson. They had a total of 3 children. John was the only boy, and he had an older and younger sister. His father was an alcoholic and would be abusive verbally and physically to all of his family. I think Gacy got the brunt of it, but everybody felt it at some point. They basically just grew to be a quiet household if their father was home because it was just hopes of keeping the peace and, not being noticed. So he was not very athletic and kind of considered overweight. And he had a congenital heart condition. Although I don't know. I've heard that wasn't officially diagnosed, but then I've heard that there was other health conditions that were not officially diagnosed, so I'm not really sure exactly, which one is fact, but it was like a split between the articles. But basically, he spent a lot of time in the hospital, in and out of the hospitals due to fainting spells, which was assumed to be caused by this heart condition. But it's not clear whether the fainting spells couldn't get a clear diagnosis or it was the heart condition that couldn't get a clear diagnosis. So anyway, he spent time in and out of the hospitals. But his father thought all along that all of these episodes were just faked by Gacy to get attention. So it didn't matter whether it was diagnosed or not. He was just like, it's not real. He just wants to do this for attention.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. Some examples of the abuse Gacy sustained from his father. He was struck over the head with a broomstick and was unconscious.
Oh, gosh.
When he was 4, he was beaten with a belt because he rearranged car engine parts that his father had already assembled. So, a 4-year-old.
I'd be mad. I'd be real mad, though. You gotta say.
I do understand.
Beat him with a belt, but
yes, I understand. However, you're 4. I mean,
right.
What do you expect from a 4-year-old? At 6 years old, he stole a toy truck from a store. And when his mother found out, she made him bring the toy back and apologize to the store owner, which seems like a, pretty
Super
reasonable,
appropriate response.
response. But then Dad found out about it. And once he found out, he was beaten with a belt.
Ugh.
At this point, Mom's like, okay, things are getting bad, so I need to try and protect him. So she tries, but, moms, they kind of, back in the day, I feel like, got a little weak and, would back off and not protect as much as they should have.
The man is the head of the household.
Yes. And when she did try to protect him, basically his dad called him a sissy and a mama's boy, and that he would probably grow up to be a queer. Yeah. So it's that homophobic age, I feel like. But in 1949, when Gacy was 7 years old, he and another boy were accused of sexually fondling a young girl. And after that incident, Dad beat him with a razor strap. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, so I had to look it up. And it's basically like a belt. It's a leather strap that I think that barbers used to straighten and like polish the blades of their razor blades. But
Oh.
so essentially it was like a belt. So I don't know why he had this in his possession.
Was he a
Because
barber?
I had no indication that he was, but
He just liked
essentially
to sharpen things?
I guess I don't know. I don't know why he had it, but essentially it seems like it was just another leather belt, but maybe it was a little thicker, I guess.
Hmm.
So this same year, he claims to have been molested by a family friend. Gacy
Mm.
claims to be molested. And this friend would take Gacy for rides in his truck and fondle him. But Gacy never reported this to his mom and dad because he basically just feared that his dad was going to blame him for it in some way, like, oh, it's your fault.
Totally would have.
Yeah, exactly. Based on what we know of him already. So I watched an episode of, I think, Lifetime Movie Network's Monster in My Family. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's actually,
Lifetime is hilarious.
well, yes, but I will say that this is actually very interesting to me because I can't remember the lady's name, but the host of the show, her dad killed 9 people. And her premise basically is, let me go and talk to other people who have serial killers in their family and help them resolve issues and maybe even get them in contact with victims' families so maybe somebody can have some closure along the way. Because I
Okay.
feel like family members of serial killers probably have some sort of guilt, even though maybe they knew nothing about it and
Of course.
had nothing to do with it. So it's actually a pretty interesting premise, and I'm interested in watching other episodes. So it's Lifetime Movie Network's Monster in My Family. So in this episode, Gacy's sister Karen, love the name Karen, was interviewed about their childhood. And Karen says that she and Gacy were close and that he liked to clown around at times, but he was overall a pretty serious child. And she confirms that they were all pretty quiet when dad was home and also states that Gacy could do nothing right in their dad's eyes and was probably due to the fact that he was not a man's quote unquote man's man.
Okay.
And she recalls Gacy having this keep out sign on his bedroom door, but, being a girl and also being a Karen, she, she would snoop.
Poor thing. Poor Karen's out
I
there.
know.
Oh,
I
man.
know. Actually, she's a very nice woman, so I really shouldn't make fun of her, but she has the unfortunate. Unfortunately, she has a name Karen, so. But anyway, she would snoop sometimes, and one time she remembers finding silk panties in a bag in Gacy's closet.
Oh, whose were they?
We're not really sure, but she let her mom know and remembers her parents, having loud conversations about it and speaking to John, but he basically would deny that they were there because he didn't want to get in trouble.
So Karen told on her brother.
Karen told on her brother. Karen snooped. Karen told. John gets in trouble, but tries to deny it, or Gacy. And then she also recalls her mom sharing with her that Gacy, when he was really little, she found a pair of her panties, in a brown bag under the stairs.
Now we all know Christy calls her panties undies.
Undies. Sad tidbits to my life.
Fun fact.
That's a fun fact. But regardless, Mom remembers finding a pair of her panties in a brown bag under the stairs, and so she believed that Gacy had some sort of fetish at this point, especially after finding some more panties in his closet. So I guess it's a little bit important here to mention that he didn't finish high school, and I never found any reasons for this or why. It just kind of glazed over it, and later on, we'll find out other things that happened past high school, but I know that he didn't finish. So, but I don't know why. And in 1960, at the age of 18, he became involved in politics.
What?
He didn't finish high school, but He's going to start a career in politics. He was a precinct captain for the Democratic Party candidate. And this position is an elected position. I didn't know what it meant because to me, a precinct is like a police precinct.
Yes, I was thinking that too.
Right. So I had to look it up. But it's an elected position, and it establishes a link between the voters and political parties in an election, in local elections. So my understanding of it is that it's like sort of like a campaign worker.
That's what I was going to say, like a campaign manager.
Right. But they're elected.
Oh.
Which I don't feel like typically campaign. And this was clearly 1960, so
I was going to say I've never voted for that.
Right. So it means
who elects them?
I don't know. I cannot say that precinct captains exist now, but they did.
Got it.
1960. So he became involved in this in hopes to gain approval of his father, but unfortunately that did not happen. And not long after this, Gacy had saved for and purchased a car. One account says his dad purchased it for him and then maintained the title until Gacy could repay it. But then there was others that said that he paid for it outright. So I'm not really sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if dad paid for it just to hold it over his head and make him pay for it, because there was a lot of arguments over this car, and that would make more sense if dad held it over his head that he had paid for it. So after one argument over the car, and his dad would take the keys from him and like mess with engine parts, and he was not a nice dad. But after one argument, Gacy picked up and left and just didn't tell anybody where he was going, and he ended up in Las Vegas. Here, he worked within an ambulance service before starting to work in a mortuary. And yeah, he lived in the back room of the mortuary behind the embalming room.
No. Nope.
Here we go. We're going down the path. He did this for 3 months and later on confesses that one evening when he was alone, he climbed into a coffin with a deceased teenage boy, embracing and caressing his body. He became shocked by his behavior because he realized...
Because it's shocking.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
This probably isn't normal. And immediately called home and asked if he could come back. And so he drove back. Essentially, like, it was like that day. He realized this is a terrible thing. I need to go home. I need to get out of here. And he drove home.
Interesting.
Went back to Chicago. After he returns, he enrolls in Northwestern Business College. Again, despite never finishing high school.
I was just going to say, isn't that a prerequisite for getting into college?
Well, I would assume that now it is, but we're talking, it's way back. So whatever, he gets into college, and clearly he seems to be a master manipulator and can talk his way in and out of things. So he gets in, he graduates from there in 1963. He began working for Nunn Bush Shoe Company. Have you ever heard of that one?
No.
Me either. I don't think it actually exists anymore.
I think it might not have went far.
So, and it was located outside of Chicago, and he worked basically through their management training program. So the company moves him to Springfield, Illinois, which is about 3 hours southwest, and they give him a salesman job there. He becomes well-known and a well-respected businessman, and eventually gets promoted to manager. Also at this time, he starts dating an employee named Marilyn Myers. They only date for a short time, and then they become engaged, and they're only engaged for they're only together 6 months before they're married. So dating, engaged, married, 6 months.
Okay.
Pretty quick. Which
Maryland's move quick.
And also back in the day, I feel like things just sometimes move a little faster. Like, I was engaged for a year and a half, dated a year and a half, engaged a year and a half. Like, it's 3 years before we were married.
Yeah, because you had to
Maybe.
book the venue.
Well, yeah, it took, especially in New York. Damn New Yorkers. Anyway, so this moves. They're married in September 1964. Gacy's father-in-law at this time purchases 3 KFCs. You've heard of them, right?
Wow. Yes.
Yeah. So he
So they're
buys,
not based in Kentucky?
well, I don't know if they're where they're based, but at this point, his father-in-law buys 3 of them in Waterloo, Iowa. So,
Huh.
I mean, they could be based. I don't know, actually. That would be an interesting thing to look up if they're actually based in Kentucky. But regardless, father-in-law buys 3 of them in Iowa, and he offers Gacy the opportunity to move to Waterloo to manage these stores, and also basically offers them to move into their home. So they move out of the home, the parents, so that Gacy
Wait,
and Marilyn can
what?
move in.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very different times. Like, I should just be like, Linda, you should move out of your house and let Emery and I move
For
in.
real, though, because she lives 7 minutes from me.
Where are you at?
She can come live with me. She's a
That would
good
be
cook, I've
fun.
heard.
Pretty good, pretty good. So Gacy, they basically over the next few years, they welcome 2 children into their lives. A son is born in February of 1966 and a daughter in March of 1967. And he's been known to describe this time in his life as perfect. So, he's got a wife, he's got a house, he's managing
Got
3
fried
KFCs,
chicken.
like, a son, a daughter.
Biscuits. They have good biscuits.
Yeah, perfect, perfect little family. So you think, well, why can't this guy's life go in that direction then? Well, it doesn't. So he has been, no, sorry, his father finally accepts him. So there you go. There's even another aspect. He actually
Wow.
even goes as far as to apologize to Gacy when he visits him, saying he must have been wrong about him because clearly he didn't
Huh.
grow up to be the queer that he thought he was going to be. So he was wrong.
Wow. Okay. He gave him the biscuits.
He did. He did. He
And
gave
he
him the
was
chicken and the
like,
biscuits.
yeah, those butter biscuits from the Colonel.
Yeah. So at this point, you're thinking, great, things are going great for Gacy, so let's just move on. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens with
Oh.
Gacy after this break. So, okay, so let's see now where Gacy goes after having the perfect little family. He sets up a quote unquote club in the basement of his home and often throws parties for his employees. Now, what kind of employees do you think he has at KFC?
So, like young people, I would imagine, who like chicken.
Well, I don't
College
know.
kids,
Yeah,
maybe, high school, possibly.
exactly. I'm not sure if they like chicken or not, but he employs mostly teenagers at this KFC. And so he's throwing parties in his basement for these
Ah.
teenagers.
Oh.
And despite employing both boys and girls, he typically only invites the boys to these parties. And he supplies
Oh.
them with alcohol and often tries to make advances towards these boys, which a
I
good
started to
majority.
say, before you said that, I was like, oh, he's the cool boss. He has them over to his house after work and gives them beer
Well,
until.
truly, that's how they're thinking of him and how most people
Mm-hmm.
think of him his entire life, honestly. But no, he's not the cool boss. So they typically deny him, and then when they do, he basically laughs it off and says, "Oh, that was a moral test. I was just testing you to see if you would accept it and whatnot." So he's saying he's not serious. So throughout his business career, he's a member of a group called the Jaycees. Have you heard of that?
No.
Okay. It's it sounds familiar to me. I was not familiar with the term JC, but basically it's a leadership organization that is started to help young men between the ages of 18 and 40 to develop leadership skills.
I do know what this is.
Yeah. So he basically also climbs through the ranks in this organization, and I believe he was even vice president of the Springfield JCs and recognized as the 3rd most outstanding JC within the state of Illinois. Which makes sense because he didn't finish high school, manages to get into college and finish college, and is like
A
rising through.
politician.
He's into politics. He's a manager of KFC. He's a manager of a shoe store. He's smart. He can get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I should mention here that it is alleged that the members of this organization often engage in wife swapping, prostitution, and pornography. And so he is alleged to have slept with many prostitutes because of the connection with this group. Don't know if it's true, false, whatnot. It's just, it's speculated that this is a common occurrence.
Got it.
In later years, he states that it is with this group that he has his first homosexual experience. The group got him drunk one night, and a member apparently performed oral sex on him when he had to stay and sleep on the couch of their home. Again, who knows if that's true or not, but in August of 1967, just 5 months after the birth of his daughter, and right after he describes his life as being perfect, Gacy has his first known sexual assault. He provided alcohol to Donald Voorhees, who was a 15-year-old son of a fellow JC member, and then had him perform oral sex on him. Around the same time, other teens said he had tricked several other teenagers into believing he was commissioned to conduct homosexual experiments in the interest of quote-unquote scientific research, and he paid them $50 each to perform these acts.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, like, gross, but such an intelligent way to go about his assaults.
Especially with teenagers being as gullible as they are, and $50 in 1960s was probably like, what? You're going to be $50 for this?
Right. Right.
It's a crap load of money. So Donald Voorhees finally tells his father of the assault in March of 1968. So that's almost a year later. And Gacy is immediately charged with oral sodomy of Voorhees and attempted assault of another 16-year-old boy. Gacy denies all of the charges and said they are lies being spread that are politically motivated, because at that time he was running for a position with the JCs, and Donald's father was known to be against Gacy running for that position and was for whoever the other candidate was. So,
can you remind me, like, do we know how old he was at this time?
So 30s? Let's see. He was born in 42, and this is 68.
Okay.
So he's 26.
So super young. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So the members of the JCs think that this is an entirely plausible thing. Like, okay, that guy's totally against you. He probably did make this up and is just, trying to get you to back down or whatever. But he is
the good old boys club.
Yeah, the good old boys club. But regardless of their backing him up, he's still indicted on May 10th of 1968. And in August of 1968, before his court appearance for the sodomy charges, he offers another teen, an 18-year-old teenager named Russell Schroeder, $300 to physically attack Voorhees to scare him out of testifying. Russell carries this attack out in September and is arrested the next day. And initially he denies all the accusations, but eventually he admits it and then puts all the blame on Gacy. And so the court at this point asks for a psychological evaluation, and they come to the conclusion that he has antisocial personality disorder. Are you aware of that?
Gacy?
Yes. So because he asked for this kid to beat the other kid up, and then he's basically was indicted for this sexual assault, asked another kid to beat that kid up so he wouldn't testify. That kid tells everybody, he told me to beat him up. So then the court orders a psych eval. Yeah. Clearly he's being accused of many things. And he is found to have antisocial personality disorder. And that most likely he would continue to be an issue with society.
It's like the worst of the worst. Got it.
So on November 7th, 1968, he pleads guilty to the sodomy of Donald Voorhees, but not guilty to any other accusations. They convict him on December 3rd, 1968, and he's sentenced to 10 years in prison at Anamassa State Pen in Iowa. The same day that he was convicted, his wife petitions for divorce and full custody of the kids, house, alimony, all of that.
Get it.
And Gacy never sees his wife and children again.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no kidding. Good.
Okay.
But during his stint at Anamassa State Pen, he quickly gains recognition as a model prisoner.
Oh.
Earns the head cook position within months of being there. After serving 6 months of his sentence in June 1969, he applies for parole, but is denied. He would get another chance at parole in May of 1970. So as he's preparing for this meeting, he decides, okay, I'm going to complete 16 high school hours and obtain my high school diploma, which he gets. And so in May of 1970, he has his parole hearing, and he's granted parole on June 18th of 1970 after serving only 18 months of his 10-year sentence.
And he got to be a cook.
Yes.
The head cook. Have you seen Orange is the New Black? That's like
coveted position.
Yes. All the stuff comes in through the kitchen.
Yeah. And apparently he did a lot of other things like negotiating higher wages for people like within the prison and their jobs and whatnot. Like he did a whole lot and was
prison like a politician.
Even in the JC like committee of prisons, if there was one, there might be one.
Right.
So he's only serving 18 months for assaulting a teenager.
Okay.
Seems a little bit insane for me, and probably would not fly these days. So he's given 12 months probation with 2 conditions. He had to move back to Chicago and live with his mother, and he had to keep a 10 p.m. curfew. So he does this. He moves home and quickly gets a job as a short order cook at home.
It's like their version of an ankle bracelet.
Yeah.
We're giving you to your mama.
Right, yeah. Go home to your mom. 7 months later, in February of 1971, Gacy is charged with sexual assault of another teenage boy, but the boy failed to appear in court, so the charges were dropped. Maybe he was threatened. Who knows? Never know. Gacy's tried that before, but the parole board never found out about these charges because clearly they would have been a violation of his parole. And 8 months later, his probation ends. So he never got caught in that, somehow slipped through the cracks.
Oh my gosh. Hoorah for electronic systems.
Yes, exactly.
That would never happen now.
No.
Right?
No.
Tell me it wouldn't. No. Oh, good grief.
Only serving 18 months of a 10-year sentence, talking his way out of things. Now the parole board doesn't even hear of charges brought against him. Like, what? I'm just one lucky guy.
Right. Right. Yes.
So I, at this point, already feel like he's done some pretty despicable acts, but we haven't even gotten to the bad stuff.
And
you're
not going to tell me, are you?
Going to have to wait for that stuff tomorrow. Sorry.
I'm going to go get some fried chicken.
You should. You should totally get some fried chicken.
Okay. We'll see you tomorrow. Hey, listen, guys. Thank you for joining us for Serial Killer September. This is a dream come true for me. I love me some crazy serial killers. I'm having so much fun just with this story already. I hope you guys are too. Please keep joining us. Tell your friends. Hit subscribe. Like us. Share us. Tell everyone all about us because we're having so much fun connecting with you guys. So please reach out on Facebook and Instagram, on email. Find us on our website. Send us a voicemail. Christy really wants a voicemail. She's like, I'll pay you $1 if you'll peddle my voicemail promo. Seriously, though, you guys, reach out to us. We really love hearing from you. And we will get back to smaller cases in October. So send your suggestions because our brains are going to be fried after all these nightmares. So stick with us. We are going to have a fun month and we can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you tomorrow for part 2 of the Mr. Gacy story. So tune in and always remember the world is scary. People suck. Hide in your closets, y'all.